As we aim to help you rebound amid the pandemic, we know getting your children back to school safely is top of mind for many families. While classes have resumed in some districts, several area school districts will get back in session next week after Labor Day. But first, we're checking with several districts to find out what their plans look like. So joining us this morning is the Superintendent for Raytown Quality Schools, Dr. Allan Markley. Dr. Markley, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we know your students will all start virtually learning, even if they choose in-person classes. So what's been the feedback that the district has received from parents and students about that decision?
Well, you've heard feedback from, well, not only across our area, but across this country. It's been about the same. You know, we've had several parents that would want their kids back in school. And then on the other side of the issue, there's still some that are very afraid to send their students back.
So what percentage of your students have chosen to continue with all virtual learning even after classrooms reopen?
It's a pretty high percentage right now. We're still going through enrollment. We're still a week out. A week from tomorrow we'll start school, but we're at about 44% of our students will be returning virtual.
Wow. So where does the Raytown district stand when it comes to fall sports? I know that's been a hot button issue for the past several weeks now.
It has been. Coincidentally, I am the president of the Suburban Conference. And we have worked to get our students back into their activities. We actually had our first football game on Friday. 2 football games, Raytown and Raytown South both played. We are playing fall sports, but being very cautious as we move through that process.
So students will be able to practice and play? They
have been doing that, yes.
That's great. And once classrooms reopen, what are some of the biggest differences students will notice?
I think so. Well, one, there won't be as many people or students in the classes, so they'll notice that there's not as the crowding won't be what it was in the past. The different procedures that we have in place and the social distancing, that wearing a mask, that'll be a big difference for most students. Although we had summer school this summer with a limited number of students that did wear masks, so those are some of the things they'll see: having their temperatures checked, or they come into buildings, etc. Those kind of things.
And if a student or a teacher tests positive for COVID-19, what are the next steps?
The process is to work with what we have done so far is worked with Jackson County and notify them, and they take us through the protocols and the contact tracing. They've been a good help in making sure that we follow the current policies that we have in front of us.
So let's talk about screening. You know, what types of screening will you all be doing for teachers when they arrive to work?
Well, when teachers come, we've purchased several. To describe them, you look like you're walking through the airport in the security screening. They're actually stand-up devices that will take temperatures of not only teachers but students when they enter the building. We ask teachers to self-monitor. If you don't feel well, don't come to work, etc. Those types of things. Same way with students and parents.
In addition to CDC recommendations, the district's reopening plan says you all purchased electrostatic sprayers. Explain to our audience what those are and how they would work.
Well, they look like they're out of a science fiction movie, to be honest with you. If you've ever seen, of course, most people today, they haven't seen Ghostbusters, but they look like those packs that are on your back. And our custodial maintenance crews will be using those and spraying down classrooms after use, along with spraying down our district buses. And that we're able to cover a lot more area in a shorter period of time. But they're designed to spray a chemical that kills viruses and bacteria that are located on surfaces within the rooms and also on buses.
And now, speaking of ventilation systems, you know, we've been talking about how that could impact the spread of COVID-19. What changes has your district made in addressing this and working to mitigate that issue?
Well, a couple of things we have employed. We've used our architectural firm and engineering firms to start a ventilation study throughout our district and all of our buildings. We have well over 2 million square feet of building space. We're doing that study to see where our ventilation systems are not working correctly. And we're also in the process of purchasing devices called photocatalytic oxidation systems, lights that are put inside our HVAC systems that help mitigate the spread of the virus.
And Dr. Markley, my last question for you is, you know, this is going to look very, very different from previous school years reopening. What message do you have for parents, students, and staff in your district about, you know, the reopening plans?
Well, I've been a superintendent now for 20 years in the state of Missouri, and the message really during all that time, anytime we have change or something that it hasn't been certainly to this degree, but be patient. We'll work through it. We'll work through it together. And as we move through it, we'll find that when we do work together, we'll get to where we need to be at the end of the day. So everyone out there, just know this is different for all of us, and we're doing everything we can. And as we partner, it'll move much more smoothly.
All right, Dr. Allan Markley, thank you so much for talking with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You do the same.